Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshunmilitanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamlan Shri Gurun Vaishnavanashta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tham Sajevam Sadvaitam Sabudhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Nitamscha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐫𝐚𝐜𝐭 Bhaktya Vasudeva Prayayana Agam Dhanvanti Kṛṣṇena Niharam Eva Bhaskara. So over here, this verse is being spoken by Śrīla Goswami. As there are many newcomers also in this audience, I would like to first give a little introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is the incarnation of God who appeared to put the Vedic literature into writing. Vyasadeva compiled the vast Vedic literature. This literature is so vast that even if you were to read it every day of your life, by the time you die, you will still not be able to read the entire Vedic text. Vyasadeva had compiled the vast Vedic literature, but still he was feeling unhappy. So he went to his spiritual master, whose name was Narada Muni, and he asked his spiritual master, I have compiled so much literature, why am I still unhappy? And he said, because you have not exclusively glorified the process of devotional service. So then he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam consists of 18,000 verses divided in 12 cantos. This Srimad Bhagavatam gives us knowledge about pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means that one is willing to serve the Lord without any condition. In the material world, we are only willing to serve if we get our conditions. Like, for example, I'll do a job if I can get the right amount of money for my sense gratification. Pure devotional service means that we serve the Lord without expecting anything in return at all. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse in Sanskrit which runs as follows. Sarvam punsam paro dharmo yatho bhakti adhokshaje ahitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. The self can only be satisfied by engaging in paro dharmo. Such devotional service must be uninterrupted, it must be without any stoppage, and it must be unmotivated. So this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us. In all our temples around the world, we read the Srimad Bhagavatam every morning at about 7:30. We take one verse every day, and then the senior-most person speaks and explains that verse. Just like by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can free oneself from material desires and develop love of God. Similarly, by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, one can develop love of God. The whole purpose of this Vedic knowledge is to enable the living entity to develop love for God. If we do not develop love for God, then we will develop love for these so-called material things which are going to disappear with the passage of time. So in this 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the presentation of the story of Ajamil. In the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many spiritual stories, each of which is conveying to us a very important spiritual message. These stories are not friction. This is not scientific friction that people are very fond of writing. These are real stories. In this verse that we have read, the Sanskrit which we had chanted, Śrīla Goswami is saying, only a rare person who has accepted unalloyed devotional service can take away the sinful desires from the heart. Is everyone understanding things in the back? Yeah. Do you want me to go slower or is this okay? I want all of you to understand. Even if I have to go at the speed of an ant, I don't care. So, GKG Goswami is pointing out at the importance of pure devotional service. There's a very nice example given, just like you have the fog. Fog is like the clouds. Like in London there's a lot of fog. I'm sure in Russia also you have fog. So when you have this fog, you cannot see anything clearly. But when the sun comes out, the fog gets destroyed. So devotional service is like the sun. Maya is like the fog. So this Maya can be destroyed by the devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita there is a verse, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hayandikara Yahan Krishna Tayani Mayara Dikara. The meaning is, where there is Krishna, there is no room for Maya. Just like where there is sunshine, there is no room for darkness. So, Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us how to get near Krishna. All of you who have assembled here because you are accepting Krishna's teachings. Otherwise, why would all of you take all the risk and come here? We are not giving you any money, no ruble or kopeck. Rather, we take away your rubles and kopeck. But you are getting some pleasure from Krishna, therefore you are coming here. So, in the 6th canto, as I told you, we have the wonderful story of Ajamil. This 6th canto starts with Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj wants to know from his spiritual master, how can we give up sinful activities once for all? He says, what is the value of somebody going to the church or the temple on Sunday, atoning, and then coming back and sinning again? Just like an elephant goes and has a bath, then the elephant comes out and then sits down in the sand, and again the body gets dirty. So, Parikshit Maharaj was not interested in that knowledge by which one may apologize to the Lord for his sins and then again sin again. So Parikshit Maharaj is interested in that science by which the sinful desire from the heart will be pulled out. Parikshit Maharaj gives an example that you may have fire and the tree may get burnt. But as long as the roots of the tree are below the earth, again the tree will grow. Do all of you understand this example? That the branches and the leaves and the tree may get burnt, but as long as the root is below the earth, so Parikshit Maharaj wants to know how one can take out sinful desires from the heart. So that has been explained by GKG Goswami to be by the process of devotional service. Do all of you know who Parikshit Maharaj is? So Parikshit Maharaj was the king of this planet who was cursed to die within 7 days. And Parikshit Maharaj, when he was given notice that he is going to die in 7 days, he did not get worried or scared or started writing up his will. But Parikshit Maharaj invited all the great sages of the planet and asked them a very simple question. His question was, what should one do who's about to die? You and I may not even get 7 seconds notice. But Parikshit Maharaj was so lucky he got 7 days notice. It is the same Parikshit Maharaj who, when he was in the womb of his mother, he was saved from the Brahmastra Vasvathama by Kṛṣṇa himself. So some of you may say, why is it that Kṛṣṇa did not protect Parikshit Maharaj now? As you know, Parikshit Maharaj was cursed by a young Brahmin boy. And if Kṛṣṇa wanted, he could easily have taken away that curse. After all, Parikshit Maharaj was not an ordinary person. But Parikshit Maharaj has become so famous because he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam before death. So the Lord puts the devotee in difficulty and the Lord gives the devotee the solution. Prahlad Maharaj was put into so many difficulties, but he was always protected by the Lord. So this is very natural for a devotee to be in difficulty. Srila Prabhupada had to go through so much difficulty before starting this Krishna conscious movement. So all you Ruski devotees have also had to go through so much difficulty. So because all of you are members of Prahlad's family, you are put into difficulty and you are given the solution from that difficulty. To the devotee, struggling for Krishna is a privilege. It is simply a burden of love. Just like a mother who is bringing up a young child. She may have to get up 10 times in the night because the child is crying. And she may have to clean the stool and urine of the child. But she does not complain. To her it is simply a burden of love. Of course, the present Kali Yuga mothers don't like all this. Therefore, they prefer abortion. And I understand that in your country, the abortion rate is the highest amongst the developed countries of the world. So, Parikshit Maharaj wanted to know how to stop sinning once for all. So Parikshit Maharaj Shukadeva Goswami related the story of Ajamil. Ajamil was born in a Brahmanical family. So Ajamil was born in a Brahmanical family. He had a wife and 9 children. He was following all the Vedic rules very strictly. One day Ajamil was coming from the forest. And on the way he saw that a prostitute was making love with a man. So when he saw that incident, Ajamil's mind got distracted. And he just started meditating on that incident. That is why devotees do not see anything vulgar. Because if you see something bad, then you begin to think about it and it disturbs your peace of mind. Ajamil had to engage in so many sinful activities. He had to rob rich people. And slowly, Ajamil's character became very, very bad. All good habits went away. And all bad habits developed. So, slowly, Ajamil had many children, 12 children. And the youngest child was named Narayan. Prabhupada explains that in olden days in India, so when people would call these names of God, they would call their children, they would be indirectly chanting the names of God. But today, even in India, people are giving these Western names like Pinky, Bobby, and so on. They don't want to give their children names of God anymore. They think that this is very old-fashioned. So anyway, so Ajamil was attached to his younger son, and he was somehow the other, whenever he used to call him, he used to utter the word Narayan. So Ajamil had become so sinful and now he had also become old. And Yamraj, we have one Yamraj over here also, but he is Yamraj Das, servant of the real Yamraj. But we are talking about the real original Yamraj. So Yamraj is known as the superintendent of death. Just like in Russia and America and all these advanced countries, they have the radar system. The radar system is watching that no enemy plane comes in the country. And the radar system is keeping a watch on things. So similarly, Yamraj is the superintendent of death who's keeping a watch on everyone's activities. If you have a bank account, every time you put money in the bank, your account is credited. And every time you take money out, your account is debited. So Yamraj also, he credits your account when you do something nice. So based upon the balance at the moment of death, your next life is decided. Based on your balance, it is decided whether you'll get a human body, demigod body, the body of a dog or a cat or a tree or a fish or whatever. So Yamraj had already decided now that Ajamil must die. So he sent 3 of his agents, just like you have the police force in Leningrad, in Moscow, in every city, dressed up in a big coat and a Russian cap and all that. So Yamraj also has his police force. But these policemen sometimes look handsome also. But Yamraj's police force looks very ugly. Their teeth are coming out. Have any of you seen that movie Horror of Dracula? So anyway, the Yamraj's police force is very frightening. The name of Yamraj's police force is Yamadutas. So Ajamil, Yamraj sent 3, anyone? Why did Yamraj send 3 policemen and not 5 or 4 or 2? Ajamil was so old, even one policeman could have, No idea. Everyone can. Because there are 3 ways how we can commit sinful activities. One is through the mind, the other is through the words, and the third is through your action, through the body. So each of us can sin, either through the mind, or through the tongue, or through our body. So Ajamil, so Yamraj sent 3 policemen to bring Ajamil to hell. Now as soon as Ajamil saw those 3 ugly, fearful-looking policemen coming towards him, he shouted, "Narayan!" And actually he called his youngest son to come and help. Just like when you and I are in difficulty, we shout for our beloved one to come to our rescue. But as soon as he shouted Narayan, Lord Vishnu's police force, known as the Vishnu Dutas, they also appeared on the scene. The Vishnu Dutas were very handsome, beautiful young men. So when the Yama Dutas saw the Vishnu Dutas, they said, "What are you doing over here?" And when the Vishnu Dutas saw the Yama Dutas, they said, "What are you doing over here?" So the Yama Dutas said, "We have come to carry out the order of our master." And then the Vishnu Dutas stopped the Yamadutas from taking Ajamil to hell. So there was a dialogue which took place between Yamaduta and Vishnu Duta. Ajamil was sleeping, but he was unconscious, but he could still hear what they were talking. And when Ajamil heard the conversation between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas, he realized that he has made a big mistake. He realized that he has made a big mistake, that he gave up his wife, children, parents, and he married this prostitute. So one thing is to realize our mistake, and the second thing is to correct the mistake. Just like all of you, all of us, before we came to Krishna consciousness, we were engaged in so many sinful activities, like Ajamil was engaged with his prostitute wife. But after you met a devotee of Hare Krishna, or you got the Bhagavad Gita or some other book in Ruski, then you decided, what I'm doing is wrong, so I must stop it. But just understanding that you have made a mistake is not enough. You must work to correct that mistake. So you may meet a devotee or you may read the Bhagavad Gita and understand that you're doing a mistake. But if you do not correct your life, then what is the value of that realization? So Ajamil not only realized his mistake, but he decided that now he must correct his mistake. So what did he do? He went to Hardwar, where he started chanting the names of the Lord. So the Yamadutas, the agents of Lord Yamraj, they were very confused what happened. Previously, Lord Yamraj had sent them many times to bring sinful people to hell, and nobody ever stopped them from doing their duty. But today they were stopped for the first time. So they were very confused. So then they went back to their master Yamraj and they asked him, they said, "We have a question to ask you. Is there anybody who is more powerful than you?" He said, "Yes, there is, Kṛṣṇa." Okay. Because a real devotee of the Lord does not think that he is more powerful than Kṛṣṇa. Then the Yamadutas explained the whole story that took place and how they were stopped from taking Ajamil to Yamraj. And then Yamraj, after he heard the story from his servants, he said, in future only touch somebody whose tongue has never vibrated the names of Kṛṣṇa, whose ears have never heard the name of Kṛṣṇa, whose head never bows down before Kṛṣṇa. In other words, Yamraj said that if somebody has chanted the names of Kṛṣṇa or bowed down before the deity of Kṛṣṇa, then you cannot bring him to hell. So Ajamil was saved because even when Ajamil was in bad company, he was still chanting the names of the Lord, but unconsciously. He was still chanting the names of Narayan. So all of you who are chanting the names of Kṛṣṇa will definitely be protected by Lord Vishnu. So this was in brief the story of Ajamil, and that is the end of the movie. So the summary of the story of Ajamil is, when you chant the names of God, when you chant the names of Krishna, you are never a loser. Now none of you should learn from this story that just like Ajamil gave up his wife and children and married a prostitute and became a bad man, I'll also give up my wife and children and become a bad man like Ajamil. So none of you should think, oh, now I'm going to be like Ajamil, imitate him, and then the moment of death, Krishna will save me definitely. A devotee does not sin on the strength of chanting. He does not think that because I'm chanting, I'm clearing off my bad account, so now I can commit some fresh sinful activities. A devotee is very careful to not commit any sinful activity. And if a devotee is careful, and if by accident he commits a mistake, then Krishna will protect him.